Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSE, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examinations. And about me, I'm Sandeep Bhushan Thumala, and I take up the analysis of the Hindu newspaper of today's, that is of 24th May 2021. And throughout my session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the Hindu newspaper, wherein we will try to identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions which will be critical for UPSC prelims perspective. And while you get into the mode of imbibing the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing for the mains examinations, your answers would be precise and concise, and thereby you will score higher marks in the mains examinations. So this session at AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will certainly help you to crack both prelims and mains of 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we would be focusing at the quote of the day, and the quote of the day says that your future is created by what you do today and not what you do tomorrow. So what is important is better you get into the mode of creating your future today itself. Do not wait for tomorrow, or do not postpone it till tomorrow. So your future is created by what you do today and not tomorrow. And now we'll get into the DNA of the newspaper, that is in regards to the European Union approval for Covaxin. So we will look at why there is a need for the approval of the Covaxin by the European Union. That is in regards to the European Union's European Medicines Agency. So it is the EMA of European Union which has to approve for Covaxin. So in regards to that, India is pushing for WHO and also the European Union, European medicine agencies, that there would be an approval for the individuals who have been inoculated by the Covaxin. And India is facing a concern in regards to the Covaxin who have been administered, that India is now receiving Covaxin may not get relaxation in regards to the travel restrictions. So what is the keyword here? We need to focus that why India is pushing for the WHO and the EU approval for Covaxin is that the European Union is not getting into the mode of giving relaxation to the travel restrictions of the Indians who have been inoculated or who have been vaccinated by Covaxin. And in regards to that, the government of India has decided to help that the Covaxin which has been gone ahead with manufacturing, the one was the Bharat Biotech, and government of India is certainly trying to ensure that the Bharat Biotech receives clearance from WHO and EMA, so that the European Union would, or Europeans, the people, Indians who are wishing to travel would get the relaxation. As of now, there is a travel restrictions to the Indians who have been vaccinated by the Covaxin, and this Covaxin has been manufactured by an Hyderabad base, that is Bharat Biotech, and the government of India is certainly trying to help the Bharat Biotech to receive the clearance from both the WHO, that is World Health Organization, and European Union's European Medicine Science agencies. And once the Covaxin gets the WHO's emergency use list, if it is getting that, then it would be a big boost, because it is a first for an Indian developed and produced vaccine, which is the Bharat Biotech. Therefore, the government of India is certainly pushing, and it is helping to ensure the Bharat Biotech to get or to receive the clearance from both the WHO and the European Medicine Agency. And the decision, now what is the need for the government of India to come into the picture and then decide to help ensure and to make sure that the Indians do get relaxation for the travel, or there is no travel restriction, because the decision comes when the 27 European Union member countries on May 2021 has gone ahead with a proposal, has approved a proposal. The 27 countries of the European Union members have gone ahead with a proposal to allow only the fully vaccinated tourists from countries outside Europe under certain criteria. So this criteria is very important. So what is the criteria? Yes, the criteria is that the European Union member countries have gone ahead with making a criteria or approving a proposal that the fully vaccinated tourists who are or who have got or who have inoculated the AstraZeneca Covishield would be included on the WHO and the EU's listing to travel from India. That the one who have been vaccinated with Covishield would be accepted, and the others who have taken vaccine, Covaxin, would not be accepted. So this is the reason. This is the reason why the government of India have gone ahead with making sure that they push or they ensure that the Hyderabad-based biotech receives clearances from the WHO and European Union, European Medicine Sciences, because there was a proposal which was approved by the 27 European Union members that the one or the individual or the Indian who have been fully vaccinated with Covishield will only be allowed to get into Europe, or the one who have been inoculated by the vaccine, that is Covaxin, would not be allowed. And this is the proposal which has been approved by the 27 European Union countries. So this is the analysis which we are going ahead with, why the government of India is now ensuring to approve the Bharat Biotech to ensure that they would get the clearance from the WHO and the European Union EMA because of the tourist, which there would be a tourist restrictions to the one who have been vaccinated by Covaxin, but they would be including no restrictions to the one who have been who have been inoculated by the Covishield. So this is the difference or the analysis which you need to take into consideration. The European Medicine Agency, which have gone ahead with that, the Indians will, or the Indian government will go ahead with having the clearance from the WHO as well as EMA. And according to the WHO's latest report, Covaxin is one of the 19 vaccines which have applied, and they have been, their application have been submitted to the WHO's, that they would be cleared for the emergency, or they would be in the list of emergency use or usage list. And along with the Covaxin, you have the Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson and Janssen also, along with the Chinese firm, that is Sinopharm, which are part of the WHO's latest status report, which wherein they have applied for applications and their application have been submitted to the WHO. And along with that, now the point is that Indian made Covishield is also part, which is made or manufactured by the Serum Institute of India, has also received the green light for the emergency use listing by the WHO. And now the government of India is pushing for the Covaxin, to have, or it would submit the application to the WHO and the European Union, European Medicines Agencies, so that they would be getting, Covaxin would get the green light for the emergency use listing, and therefore they will not have any, the one who have been inoculated or vaccinated by the Covaxin will not have any travel restriction, which is been approved by a proposal by the 27 European Union member countries. So this is the analysis of what is the difference between the Covaxin and Covishield vaccines, which the individuals have been vaccinated in India, and those people who have been vaccinated by these, the one who would have a travel restrictions would be on the one, that is Covaxin, and the one who have been administered by Covishield will not have any travel restriction as of now. And therefore, if you look at Prime Minister and also Prime Minister of India and also the cabinet ministers have been vaccinated or inoculated by the vaccine, that is Covaxin. And there is another news in regards to the environment, that is in regards to the cyclone. Yes, we have seen a severe or very severe cyclone storm or cyclone which have hit the Arabian Sea, which has been formed in the Arabian Sea, and which has also had a enormous damage to the states like Kerala, Karnataka, Gujarat and also Maharashtra, even to Delhi and Rajasthan. So we have seen this a week ago itself. The Topte cyclone has caused a havoc, and now there is another one in the Bay of Bengal, which the depression is going ahead over the east central Bay of Bengal, and this depression is likely to move north of northwest direction, and it would the depression would further move to the northwest direction and further intensify into a cyclonic storm. So first is the depression, which is now in the Bay of Bengal, and it would further intensify into the cyclonic storm, and then further on May 26th of 2021 it would form as a very severe cyclonic storm, and this severe cyclonic storm called as Cyclone Yas. So the name of the severe cyclonic storm which would form on May 26th in the Bay of Bengal is Cyclone Yas, and this Cyclone Yas is expected to cross the coast of Odisha and West Bengal, that is between Odisha and West Bengal, between the points that is Paradip and Sagar Island. So this very severe cyclone storm, that is Cyclone Yas, is expected to hit or to cross between Paradip of Odisha or Balasore of Odisha and the Sagar Islands, which are part of West Bengal. So what we need to focus here is another cyclone, that is Cyclone Yas in the Bay of Bengal, which is now in the phase of depression, which would intensify into cyclone storm and further into very severe cyclonic storm. And when we are talking about that, it would be the landform of the Cyclone Yas would be between Odisha and West Bengal, that is between Paradip, Balasore, that is from Odisha, to the West Bengal, that is Sagar Island. So this is the one which we need to focus again in regards to the geography, and very much more emphatically in regards to the geography map base we have to focus, because there could be a possibility that the UPSC might frame a question only focusing on Sagar Island but not on the Topte cyclone or not on the Yas cyclone. There would be a possibility based on the or on the backdrop of the Yas cyclone or Humphrey cyclone, there could be a possibility that question being found on the Sagar Island. So now we'll focus at where is the Sagar Island. So it is in the Hooghly River, and if you look at from north to south, again not only just focusing on the Sagar Islands, if you focus from north to south in the Bay of Bengal, the islands, if you look at, there is Nauchar Island, and then you have the Mud Point and Lowachar Island, you have the Supari Bhanga Island, and then the Sagar Island. So there could be a possibility that there could be a question to mark or to identify the islands from north to south, from Nauchar Island to Lohachara, and then from Supari Bhanga to Sagar Islands. And there are other islands also which are adjoining to the Sagar Islands, that is the Jil Islands, and then Mahisani Island. Along with that, you have the Lower Long Sand Island and New Island. So there is a possibility that the question can be framed for UPSC prelims perspective based on the Yas cyclone, which would be between Paradip or Odisha to West Bengal, that is Balasore to Sagar Islands. So based on that, there is a possibility that you need to focus from geography map base. That is why I have taken up the in-depth analysis of trying to identify the Sagar Islands in the Bay of Bengal, that is in the Hooghly River. And then we have focused from the north to south, that is Nauchar Island, once again I reiterate, and then Lohachara, and then Supari Bhanga. Along with that, Sagar Islands. We have also focused the east of Sagar Island is Jil Island, and the southeast of the Sagar Islands is Mahisini, and the south of Sagar Island you have the Lower Long Sand Island and New Island. So this is very important. And once this is Sagar Island, and the east of Sagar Island you have again Sundarban Islands. So Sagar Islands is very close, or it is in Bay of Bengal to the west of Sundarban Islands, and then Sundarban Islands are to the east of Sagar Islands. So we are focused from various islands, not only just Sagar Islands, but various islands, which could be a critical information from geography map base for UPSC prelims perspective. And in regards to this Yas cyclone, which would be or which would intensify into a very severe cyclonic storm on May 26, and to make sure that there is well prepared project or well prepared logistics and the administration to counter or to make sure that the Yas cyclone is effectively handled with very minimal loss of life and property. In regards to that, the Indian Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and then Engineer Task Force are the one which are primarily involved to effectively handle or to make sure that there is minimum loss of life and property by the Yas cyclone. That is, Indian Air Force has airlifted 950 NDRF personnel and 70 tons of load, and also it has kept 16 transport aircraft and 26 helicopters standby. So this is the preparation which is certainly by the Government of India, under the Government of India and the district administrations, that Indian Air Force is also part of the entire project to effectively handle the Yas cyclone. And along with that, we have seen that Navy and Coast Guard has been deployed with various ships and helicopters because for the relief, search and rescue operations. So the Navy and Coast Guard will focus, or they will be focusing on the relief, search and rescue operation by various ships and helicopters which they have deployed. And there is another one which is part of the entire project is Engineer Task Force, that is a unit of Army. So look at here, Air Force, Navy and Army. All the three are together along with the Coast Guard. Trying to make sure that there is a coordinated effort to effectively handle the Yas cyclone, which would be or which would intensify as a severe cyclonic storm on May 26. And the Army, which has an engineer task force, which will be deploying the boats and rescue equipment, which are also on a standby for deployment. So these are the one which are crucial for you to have a keynote for the mains examination, but that which are the one which are part of the entire effective program to effectively handle the Yas cyclone. So you have the Indian Air Force which comes into picture, Navy, Coast Guard and then Army, that is the Engineer Task Force. And taking into experience of the cyclone Amphan which has hit the Kolkata or the West Bengal last year this time, that is in the month of May or so. So there is an experience which the district administration has taken into account by the cyclone Amphan, and the Kolkata police has convened a joint coordination meeting with representatives of Civil Defense, Army and then Kolkata Municipal Corporation and National Disaster Response Force to make sure that they gear up for the cyclone Yas. So definitely, as we focus that there is an involvement by the Indian Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Army, Kolkata Police here when we are talking about when it would hit the West Bengal specifically, and they have the coordination with Civil Defense, Kolkata Municipal Corporation and National Disaster Response Force to effectively handle or gear up for this cyclone Yas. So this is crucial for prelims as well as mains for short notes in regards to how to handle or what are the measures to make sure that there is very minimal loss of life and property by these cyclones. It is not just, we are not just talking about the Yas cyclone, but these analysis what we have taken can be used for any kind of cyclone, and how you as an civil servant aspirant would come up with the measures that to effectively handle any kind of cyclone, which could be a well prepared one in advance to effectively counter or make sure that there is a minimal loss of life and property during the cyclones while they are hitting the coastal India. It could be eastern side or western side. And now we will focus about Yas. So definitely this could be again a perspective for prelims perspective of UPSC, that there could be a question or the statements being framed on the cyclone or the name of the cyclone Yas. So when we focus that the word Yas or the name of the cyclone Yas is given by the country, that is Oman, and it is originated from Persian language, that means jasmine in English. That is, it is a kind of a flavor or nice fragrance which creates, but I do not know how far it is a fragrance which creates when it hits on May 26th with severe cyclonic storm which has a landfall from Odisha to West Bengal. But from prelims perspective, Yas is the name given by Oman country, and it is originated from Persian language, which means jasmine in English. And if you look at it, you have the World Meteorological Organization, and this is the one which maintains the rotating list of names. So which among the following statements are incorrect in regards to the rotating list of names of cyclone? That is, World Meteorological Organization is the one which maintains the rotating list of names, and these names are appropriate for each tropical cyclone basin, and generally the name of the name list is maintained by WMO, that is World Meteorological Organization, but proposed by National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, that is NMHS. I repeat, it is maintained, the rotating list of names is names of the cyclones are maintained by World Meteorological Organization, but if you look at the other side, it is proposed by the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, and which is of the WMO members, that is, it is part of the World Meteorological Organization of a specific organ or region. So you have NMHS, which is part of the WMO, but it has it for a specific region, and it is approved by respective tropical cyclone regional bodies. So you have the keywords here, which could be a prospective question for the prelims in regards to UPSC. The keywords are, I repeat once again, name given or it is originated, and then the names, rotating list of the names of the cyclone are maintained by WMO, and it is proposed by the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, and it is approved by respective tropical cyclonic regional bodies. And worldwide there are 6 regional specialized meteorological centers. So this is again another keyword, that which among the following. So one of the statement, if it says 6 regional specialized meteorological centers, then it is correct. If it is apart from 6, if it is 5 or 7 or else any other number, so it is wrong. So worldwide we have 6 regional specialized meteorological centers, RSMCs, and this mandated, I mean the regional specialized meteorological centers are the one which mandates, or it is mandated for issuing advisories and naming tropical cyclones. So look at it, it is the respective tropical cyclone regional bodies which is mandated for issuing advisories and naming tropical cyclones. So this especially is very important when we are talking about Yas, and this is an additional information which I am providing it, which is not part of the Hindu newspaper. So one, I would reiterate once again, originated, or the word, and then who maintains the rotating list of names, who proposes the name list, and who approves the name list or the name of the particular cyclone, and how many regional specialized meteorological centers are there, and what the RSMCs are mandating, or their job is for issuing advisories and naming tropical cyclones. So this is all about Yas and how severe it would be hitting the Odisha coast and West Bengal. So this you can put it from environment perspective, how we are focused in depth in regards to the Sagar Islands, again from geography map based, and from prelims perspective about Yas. Effectively we are focused. And there is another news in regards to the oxygen which has been brought to India, because there is a acute shortage of oxygen which India has experienced in the second week of May, and hence it is still continuing it. And in regards to that, India has got the opportunity of being provided by the oxygen and raw materials for manufacturing of the vaccine from 12 countries across the globe. And in regards to the liquid medical oxygen, India has received the largest consignment at Visakhapatnam, and it has come through INS Jalashwa. So this is a keyword which is crucial for prelims perspective, that which among the following is the largest consignment which India has received in regards to the liquid medical oxygen is INS Jalashwa. Because we have seen a week ago INS Trikhand has reached Mumbai, which has come from Qatar, and this had 2 liquid medical oxygen containers, each of 20 million tons. But if you focus, or 20 metric tons, but if you focus at the INS Jalashwa, which has received or arrived in Visakhapatnam with the liquid medical oxygen, it has the capacity of 300 metric tons. So this is of 300 metric tons. If you look at INS Trikhand, it was of 2 containers of each 20 metric tons. So it is almost 40 metric tons. But the INS Jalashwa, which has arrived in Visakhapatnam with the liquid medical oxygen, is the largest consignment with 300 metric ton of liquid medical oxygen and 3,600 oxygen cylinders from Singapore and Brunei. And this entire project is the part of the ongoing Operation Samudra Setu 2. So this is especially for prelims perspective, focusing about INS Jalashwa, INS Trikhand, Visakhapatnam it has reached, Mumbai, INS Trikhand it has reached, and INS Jalashwa, it has got liquid medical oxygen and oxygen cylinders from the countries, that is from Singapore and Brunei, and INS Trikhand has got the liquid medical oxygen from the country Qatar. And this is part of the ongoing project called as Operation Samudra Setu 2. So these are all keywords and the key phrases which are crucial for prelims current affairs perspective under the Operation Samudra Setu 2. And there is another news which we have experienced a second wave in India, and many of them are expecting that there could be a third wave and then forthcoming waves in the future in India. And in regards to this, there is a survey been done by the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and according to the latest guidelines from the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, it says that children are at limited risk for severe COVID-19, which there was a kind of sense, if at all there is a third wave, there could be a possibility that the majority who would be badly hit or who would be infected in the third wave would be the children. But according to the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, it says that the children are at limited risk. As of now, it is the latest guidelines from the IAP, that is Indian Academy of Pediatrics, which says that children are at limited risk for severe COVID-19. Please do understand, for severe COVID-19 disease. But this, the guidelines or the IAP very specifically says that still the children do, or they still continue to be susceptible to the infection, and they will be also the great transmitters of this SARS-CoV-2. Even though there is a good news that there is a limited risk of children being affected by the severe COVID-19 in the third wave or in the forthcoming wave, that is the third wave after the second wave, which has shook India, wherein we have the more number of mortality and morbidity. But there could be a limited risk for severe COVID-19 for children, but instead the children would be susceptible to infection, and they would be as well as transmitters. And this academy also, that is the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, also makes a statement, or it notes that the third serology survey conducted by the ICMR has found that the percentage of the children who would be infected between 10 to 17 years of age would be 25%, and this percentage of children of 25% will be similar to the percentage of adults who would be infected by the SARS-CoV-2, which the ICMR has gone ahead with the third serological survey. So here it is very important that the academy has also emphasized and highlighted the third serology survey conducted by the ICMR, which talks about 25% of the children between the age of 10 to 17 would be infected by the SARS-CoV-2 in the third phase or the third wave, which is as similar to the percentage of the adults who would be infected by the SARS-CoV-2 in the third wave. And they also say that why there is a limited risk of the children being affected by severe COVID-19 is, they say there are two factors that favors the children, which it would be only 25% between 10 to 17, and it would be a limited risk because children have fewer chemical receptors. Here, because the children have less chemical receptors, it is good that the virus will not enter into the age between children between 10 to 17 years. That is, children when they have the fewer chemical receptors, and these are the receptor which facilitates the viral entry into the body or into the human cell. I will make you understand what is the importance of the receptor. What is the role of receptor in the replication of virus in the human cell? We will look at it. But first we will focus, or we will limit our analysis to what are the two factors. One is the children's, because they have fewer chemical receptors and their immune systems are more primed. So they have more immune system and they have less chemical receptors. That is why they have the limited risk of severe COVID-19 diseases. And if we look at a large number to be affected in the future waves, and that would also result in substantial proportion of children being affected, which would be severe and moderate. And now we will focus at what is the role of the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2 virus and the ACE receptor of the human cell. So this part is the spike protein. So this one is the ACE receptor. This is the ACE receptor. So when the virus enters into the human body, it goes into the human cell. What happens is this spike protein, which is the base of the virus, SARS-CoV-2 virus, which binds with the ACE receptor. So look at it. This, if you look at, this is the receptor, and this part is the spike protein. So there is a binding or fusion of the spike protein with the ACE receptor, and thereby the replication, RNA replication do take place. That is, multiplication of the virus takes place in the human body, and this happens at a very fast rate. That means the multiplication takes place at a very faster pace in the adults. That is why the children's they have less of the receptors, that is ACE2 receptors, while the children are having fewer or less chemical receptors which binds with the RNA or the spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. So there is a less probability of replication of the viral entry into or viral load into the host cell or animal cell, especially in the children. So this is the one. But by the vaccine, when there are antibodies, so these antibodies will definitely be an hurdle between the spike protein and the ACE receptor, so that it does not bind or fuses, that is spike protein does not bind or fuses with the ACE2 receptor, so that it inhibits the replication of the virus. So this is the one, that is inhibits. So what inhibits could be the drug or the vaccine or the antibodies. So this is the analysis which is in regards to the spike protein and the receptors, which are actually, we have looked at the role of the ACE2 receptor, which binds with the protein, spike protein of the virus, SARS-CoV-2 virus, and thereby the replication do take place in the human cell. And there is another news which is in regards to the nuclear sites, which is in Iran. And Iran Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf have said on May 23rd, 2021 that the international inspectors of IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency, may not have an access to the surveillance images of the Islamic Republic's nuclear sites. Why? Because Iran's parliament speaker says that they will not, that is the International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA will not have any kind of access to the images because there is expiration of 3 months deadline. So the 3-month deadline has expired. Thereby the Iran's parliament speaker says that the international inspectors of IAEA will not have any access to the surveillance images of the Iran nuclear sites. Please do understand this one. And this statement made by the Iran's parliament speaker is, or it would certainly create a tension when there is an diplomatic efforts which are put in Vienna, so that all, that is US or UN and US and other countries are trying to save the Iran's atomic accord or Iran's nuclear deal, which has been suspended by the Trump administration, which was actually initiated by Barack Obama's administration. And now again Joe Biden administration is trying to make sure that it saves the Iran's nuclear deal. And that is what is the main concern, that the Iran's parliament speaker has said that the IAEA will no longer have access to the surveillance image of the Iran's nuclear site because the 3-month deadline has expired. And the comments made by the speaker of Iran's parliament further highlights or underscores the narrowing window, that is, which is the efforts put in by the Joe Biden administration and the other countries of Europe. It could be Germany or France and Russia and also China, which they would wish to come to terms in regards with the nuclear or Iran nuclear deal. So that could be a possibility that it is narrowing. That is because of the comments made by the Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf. And if we look at the Islamic Republic, that is Iran, is going ahead with, once the Trump administration has pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, in fact, Iran has already started enriching and stockpiling of uranium at levels which are beyond 2015 nuclear deal, which has been struck by the Obama administration. That is, in the year 2015, when the Iran nuclear deal has been taken up, but after the Trump administration pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, Iran started enriching and then stockpiling uranium beyond the levels of 2015 Iran nuclear deal by P5+1 countries, and the International Atomic Energy Agency has said it in the year 2017, after the 2015 nuclear deal, that there would be an additional protocol with Iran, which the international inspectors would collect and analyze hundreds of thousands of images which are captured by the sophisticated surveillance cameras on a daily basis. So, as per the 2017 additional protocol by the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, that is International Inspector, will collect and analyze various or thousands of images which are being captured by the sophisticated surveillance cameras on a daily basis. But now, by the statement of Iran's parliament speaker, because of the 3-month deadline has expired, now the IAEA will not have access for the images, that is this, by the surveillance cameras. And the agency has also said that it has placed 2,000 tamper-proof seals on Iran nuclear material and equipment in the year 2017 after the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. And IAEA also had struck a 3-month deal with Iran in the month of February. And now March, April, May, the deadline is getting over, and it is almost over. And now the Tehran or Iran is threatening to delete all the surveillance images, which are thousands of images which captured daily by the sophisticated surveillance cameras. Now Iran says that it would delete the images if no deal is reached, or the deal is not again taken into consideration by the IAEA. So this is in regards to the international relations, and especially focusing on the international agency, that is the International Atomic Energy Agency. So based on this, we have to focus that how the Iran nuclear deal and the statement made by the Iran parliament speaker would make sure that there would be a kind of narrowing window for US and or else P5+1 countries to reach terms with Iran in regards to the Iran nuclear deal. And now we will focus by the map-based or pictorial representation about the research reactors. So research reactors are at Bonam, Ramsar and Tehran. And if you look at the military site is at Parchin. And the uranium mines, you have it, or they are at the Saghand, Yazd and then Gachin. So these are the 3 areas wherein in Iran we find the uranium mine. And if you focus at the nuclear sites in Iran are at Arak, Fordo, Natanz, and also you have it at Isfahan and Bushehr. So these are the 5 nuclear sites, along with the research reactors at Bonam, Ramsar and Tehran, and the military site at Parchin, and the uranium mines at Saghand, Yazd and Gachin. So this is for a better explanation in regards to the nuclear sites, wherein now the Iran says that once the deadline, 3-month deadline is over or expired, so thereby the IAEA do not have access to the images which are captured on a daily basis by the very or sophisticated surveillance cameras. So this is the one which is the issue in regards to the Iran's nuclear deal, which now Iran is coming up with the new proposal that there should be another deal which has to be reached because the 3-month deal with Iran has been expired. And I hope this session was an informative, knowledgeable, and also very important for mains as well as prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all and a good luck to you all. Do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And also like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then see you again tomorrow with the daily news analysis at AKS IAS Academy. Till then, thank you, goodbye, and then take care.